man, we have got something for you guys. If you are a tenant or you are a property manager or a landlord, guess what? There is a new law that went into effect October 1st, and it details a whole lot of changes. So we're going to jump into this. Just so you guys know, this new law, if you guys are going to look it up, is AB 121. So if you're going to do your own research on this, which I highly recommend that you do, that is what you're going to end up typing into any sort of search engine, or if you're going to be looking anything up, that is what you're going to reference, AB 121, and it mandates that landlords or property managers do the following. So the first is provide a fee-free rental option. So landlords must offer at least one method to tenants to pay their rent that does not impose any sort of fee and does not require that the tenant provide any sort of banking or bank account information. So what would be an example of this? For you tenants out there, if you were to write a personal check and provide this to your landlord, they need to accept it. Cool? Now, if they were to say, hey, I have, a convenient way of being able to pay your rent, well, and then incurs some sort of fee to you, well, great. Maybe they prefer you to pay it that way because it's more efficient for everybody, but they have to be able to provide a fee-free option. So the second thing is limits on online payment fees. What does this mean? That if the rent is to be paid through some sort of online portal or website, any processing fee must be disclosed in the lease, and the landlord cannot charge more than the actual fee charged by the portal. So no more are the days in which, if let's just say it's 1% or some sort of flat fee, let's say that it's, $5 for you to pay your, or $2.50 or whatever it is, they can't charge you more than what it actually costs them or what they're being charged for that processing fee, just so that you know. All right, moving on. What is the next thing that has changed? Disclosure of total rent up front. This is massive, and I know all of you tenants out there are just like, oh my gosh, like thank you. Finally, we now have the ability to be able to look at what we are going to be charged for rent and know that that is the total amount. No more are the days in which, some sort of property manager or landlord says, oh, this property is, listed for rent at $1,500. And then you get into the weeds of all the information, you find out, holy cow, I'm being charged an additional $200 because they're tacking on this and this and this and this fee. No. No more of that. So basically, all mandatory monthly charges, which include the base rent and any fixed fees such as like pet fees, common area fees, trash, etc., must be stated as a single total figure in the rental listing and in the lease agreement. So no more are the days of them tacking on a bunch of stuff. Whatever you see there as the amount for the rent, that has to be the total. So I know that a lot of you tenants out there are just like, oh my gosh, thank God for that. All right, now one of the other things is restrictions on utility billing. If certain utilities like water, gas, or electric are billed separately from the rent, the law places tight restrictions and disclosure requirements on how those utilities can be charged. All right, now one of the other changes is a copy of the lease for prospective tenants. This means that upon request, meaning that the tenant requests from the landlord or the property manager, that they provide in advance a copy of what the lease is going to end up being, that the landlord has to provide that to that potential tenant. So this allows the renters to review the lease terms, all fees and the rules and everything that goes along with renting that property in advance, basically to provide full transparency and, hopefully time for that applicant to be able to, read through everything. But even without this, you guys need to be, meaning tenants, you guys need to be doing your own due diligence anyway. As soon as you sit there and you get something that requires your signature, basically you legally agreeing to whatever the terms are in that contract, because a lease is a contract, you guys need to be reading through all of this stuff. So, and if you can't, then hopefully you have somebody that you trust to kind of go through some of this stuff. But the burden is on you to be able to fully understand what it is that you're agreeing to before you sign on the dotted line. That's just common sense, or at least should be. But I'm just letting you tenants know that please, 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 please read through everything. And if you have questions, that is the time to be able to address it to the landlord, the tenant, or I mean the property manager at that time. But as soon as you sign, I don't care who it is, third party judge looking at this is going to say, well, it laid everything out. You signed it. That's basically you saying that you agree to it. So just make sure that you guys are aware of what it is that you guys are agreeing to via your signature. All right, now I kind of beat that horse to death, but it's extremely important. Now, one of the other things that it changes, which is absolutely huge for you tenants out there, and that is what? What is one thing that you guys get so, irritated with as you guys are trying to find a rental property? And that is what? The application fees, right? All right, now this law now addresses that. So application fee refunds. If a landlord collects an application screening fee from an applicant, but then ends up renting the unit to somebody else without using that fee for its intended purposes, such as, the landlord not actually conducting, let's say, a background check, credit check, going through and looking at everything to potentially approve that applicant, the landlord must refund the application fee to the applicant. Huge, you guys, right? And I'm sure that a lot of you are just like, wow, finally, I'm not going to end up potentially being charged over and over and over again for filling out a rental application and draining my bank account. So all of this is intended to prevent landlords from basically profiteering off of the application fees when they basically have no intention on going through and screening that tenant. No more of the days, are these guys able to do that to you tenants out there. All right. The other thing is that there is a ban on certain application fees. So the law also prohibits the landlords from charging certain improper application fees. Now, what exactly this is, they give an example, but I don't even understand how the example that they're giving is, it's silly. Okay, but anyway, the example that they're using for this is like, oh, a minor is going to end up being charged an application fee to do some sort of background check or check. I don't even know why you would be doing that, because a minor is not able to legally sign a contract, which a lease is a contract. So why any sort of landlord or property manager would be charging a minor anyway, I don't understand, because they can't be on the lease. So now this could be for, various other things as well, but just pay attention to what you're being charged for. Otherwise, this kind of details what these changes are in this new landlord tenant law, AB 121. Again, if you guys want to look this up on, for yourself, that's what you're going to type into, your Google or whatever search engine you guys are going to look this up. Throw it into ChatGPT or however it is that you guys want to look this up. Please do it. It has gone into effect. This applies to everybody now. So per October 1st, all of this applies. So pay attention to what it is that you guys are presented with by a landlord or a tenant. Pay attention to this via the, as you're kind of perusing around the internet and looking for places to rent, understand how all of these new laws now apply. So I hope that this information is helpful for you landlords and for you tenants out there. But again, all of the information that I provided, I will provide, the sources that I gathered all this information. But I hope that you guys end up kind of doing your own research with a lot of this stuff. And again, AB 121 is what you're going to plug into your search engines. So, but if you guys have any questions about anything real estate related, this or anything, buying or selling a property, please end up reaching out to me. You can call, text, email me, whatever you need to do to get a hold of me. I am here waiting for you guys to end up reaching out to me to answer your guys' questions. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video.